Hey y'all, it's Kasia and today I'm going to show y'all how I did this frontal install on Janika's low hairline. I am using hair that was sent to me from africanmall.com. I'm going to link everything down in the description bar below, but they did send me a 20-inch frontal, a 24 and two 26-inch bundles. So I'm gonna start off with bleaching the knots. I usually measure out this part, but I didn't this time. So if you have a little scooper thing, I use 2 scoops of bleaching powder. I am using the Salon Care bleaching powder and the blue one because it just helps so that the knots won't be as brassy as when you use the white bleaching powder. I'm also using 40 volume developer, which I recommend using a lower volume if you're not used to working with bleach, because you can over bleach the knots really easily if you don't pay attention. But basically, I'm going to get it to a pretty thick consistency, but where it still is able to easily glide off of the brush. Then I'm just going to glide it onto the lace using a kind of tapping motion. I don't want to do it too hard because I don't want to bleach through the lace and it get on the hair. I'm just trying to bleach the knots only and just like a tad bit of the root of the hair, but not like the whole, like you don't want it to bleach through the lace and get like the whole frontal or whole front or section of the frontal blonde. You just want to make sure that you're only getting the knots. So you want to flip it over and check it and look at it and make sure that it's not, that it hasn't seeped through. That's why I flip it over before I cover it, but I let it sit for 20 minutes. Make sure you're checking it though, and once I've done that, I go ahead and wash it. I recommend washing it with Shimmering Lights shampoo and conditioner to make sure that it isn't brassy. But at this point, I'm just gonna go in and start plucking. I'm just doing very basic plucking on the hairline, just going back and forth. Once I put it on her head, I'm going to pluck even more. Because she has a low hairline, I have to make the frontal match her hairline and then kind of adjust it from there. But I'm just doing a really basic plucking right now. Just parting, plucking, parting, plucking, parting, plucking. So at this point, I have started braiding her hair into the braiding pattern that I use for all frontals, frontal wig installs, any type of frontal install, whether it's a wig or a sew-in or glue-in or whatever. So basically, I'm just going to be braiding all of her hair back and connecting the braid to the braid next to it. Is really basic. You can really braid it however you see fit, but I suggest braiding it back if you're doing a frontal. Okay, so this is the final result for the braid pattern. After I do that, I'm going to use some Got to Be glue gel. I like to use the one in the black bottle, and I'm just going to be using my little edge brush and slicking her edges back, making sure none of her hair is like sitting out on her edges, like none of it is like fluffy or anything, making sure it's completely smooth back so that when I put her stocking cap on, it goes on, glides on easily, and her edges aren't in the way when I go to cut off the remainder of the cap. So that's the purpose of blow drying and gelling the edges back. So now I'm just going to be putting on her frontal, and I'm going to be adjusting it so that I can snip it on the side so that I can see where I need to add the elastic band. So I'm just going to snip it right above her ear on both sides, and you're going to see that when I put on the elastic band, I'm going to use those 2 snips to guide me. So basically now I'm just putting on a new stocking cap, and I'm just going to cut some holes out where her ears are and just put her ears inside of the hole so that it can lay, so that the cap can lay flat where her ears are. And I'm going to be using some got to be glue spray to adhere the cap to her edges. And then once I'm done doing that, I'm just going to cut off the remainder of the cap after blow drying it dry. Okay, so now I'm going to be measuring ear to ear in the back of her head, and I'm going to be cutting that on the elastic. And where those snips are, that's where I'm going to attach the elastic. I'm just going to go ahead and put it on there even, matching it the 2 ends up, and I'm going to just sew it in place. I'm going to go over it. I'm going to do small stitches and probably go over it twice, and just make sure that the stitches are really strong so that when the elastic band is stretched, it doesn't, you know, move, or it doesn't disconnect from the frontal. And I'm just going to do that on both sides. So this is a quick weave, but I don't want to get any glue on her hair, so I am going to be using some wrap strips to cover up her head, and then I'm going to use a wave cap, or basically a black wig cap, and put over that. And I'm going to sew that. I'm going to cut off the extra so that I can see better, but then I'm going to sew around, but making sure that I leave out the part where her frontal is. So I'm just going to sew all the way around, just leaving out the part where her frontal is, because you don't want it to be black cap and wax wrap strips under where the frontal is laying. Okay, so now I'm going to be doing a lot of adjusting of this hairline, because the hairline is totally different, completely opposite of what her hairline is. So I need to basically match up the hairline on the frontal to her natural hairline. And what I'm doing is I'm parting out about a 1/2 inch away from her hairline, but the same um pattern that her hairline is, if that makes sense. I'm probably not explaining this very well, but basically how her hairline goes back right there, I'm basically making it go back right there too, but I'm doing it at 1/2 inch ahead of where her actual hairline is. So hopefully that's making sense. But since it's so thick right here, I'm just going to go in and pluck. I do suggest you just pulling out the section instead of cutting it. You'll see that I'm going to do that when I go to the middle and the other side, that I'm just going to pluck out the hair instead of cutting it. I don't know why I did that. I normally don't do that. But yeah, I definitely suggest just going ahead and plucking you're gonna have to pluck it a lot if you have a hairline that isn't similar to the hairline that's naturally on the frontal. So I don't really know if I'm explaining this well, but I'm just gonna let y'all watch this part. Okay, so basically right here is what I was talking about. Since our hairline goes back right here, I'm going to be using my comb and parting out that section, and then I'm just going to be pulling out that hair. I'm just basically pulling the hair from the root out of the lace just so I can have that part free. And then I'm going to thin out the hairline behind that part. And I'm going to do the exact same thing on the side. I'm parting out the hair that I'm going to be pulling out and pinning the rest up. And I'm just going to pull it all out. Except for the ear tabs. I'm going to cut those off. So once I'm done doing that, I'm going to go ahead and sew the frontal into place. Even though this is a quick weave, I do like to sew the frontal on instead of trying to glue it. So now I'm wiping her forehead off with some alcohol. I did go ahead and use some makeup to match as closely as I could the cap and her skin. The first layer of glue I'm going to do right on the edge of the cap because I want to make sure that I lay that cap down really smoothly. And after that, I'm going to do 3 layers of glue, and each layer of glue I'm going to be letting it get clear before I add on the next layer. And also I am using bow hole glue. I always use bow hole. I'm thinking about trying some new glue, so if you have any recommendations, let me know in the comment section below. Okay, so once the last layer has turned clear, I go ahead and pull the lace down into the glue. A lot of people say don't touch the lace with your bare hands, but I have cleaned my hands off with 91% alcohol, so I still touch it, but I try to mostly use my comb to guide me, but I'm just pulling it really tight into the lace, not too tight, but very firm so that it can stick. And then I'm going to make a few snips so that I can cut off the lace, but I'm just going to be using an eyebrow razor for most of the cutting. A few snips I will do with my scissors, but scissors leave a real I don't know what's the word, I forgot, straight line basically, and you kind of just want it to be a little more jagged so that it can really melt better. So I'm just going to be using my razor and scissors interchangeably, but mostly just the razor. So right now I'm going to be using another razor to cut her some baby hair, and I'm going to use my Nairobi foam and my got to be glue spray to put her baby hair into place. But after I end up doing the baby hair, I end up realizing that I didn't really like them very much, so I pretty much changed them and I added another piece of baby hair kind of like in the middle. I realized that they were a little too low on her, like too close to her eyebrows, and I just, yeah, wasn't really feeling it. So at the end you'll notice like her baby hair do look a little different, and unfortunately my camera went dead, so I didn't get to record the full styling process, but I think y'all gonna get the drift for the most part. I'm just going to, after I do her baby hair, wrap it up and then go on to gluing in her tracks. I did use 2.5 bundles. You can use more if you want, but I couldn't fit any more hair in, so yeah. So my camera did die, so I was only able to show some of this part. I just wanted to show y'all that once I got to this part, I did 3 tracks going across. So everything was in a smiling motion until I got to that part. So for the frontal, of course, I'm going to be hot combing her frontal to lay it flat. We did opt for a side part, so that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going in for a side part, and I'm just hot combing it in place. And like I mentioned before, I did end up fixing her baby hair on the opposite side, and I put another like swoop in the middle just to kind of, you know, get everything together. But unfortunately I wasn't able to get that on camera. If y'all want me to do a dedicated baby hair video, I will do that. So let me know in the comment section below.
to groove. There's no reason to prove. And now you've got yourself something funky.
Y'all, I'm shook. Shook it. Look, hold on, I need to show y'all this because, okay. Can y'all see this? Look at this. You know, you see this hair is wavy or whatever. Can y'all see that? Hopefully y'all can. It's wavy. And, you know, Babyliss titanium flat irons. I don't know if it's the hair or if it's the flat irons or if it's both. I think it's both of them. Cause like, look at this, y'all. And I got it on the highest heat setting, which I probably don't need to have it on the highest heat setting because how it's flat ironing. Like, do y'all see this? Like, sis. Okay, period. What the hell? This looks so good. I'm shook. That's all I want to show y'all. I'm gonna fast forward it. Okay, y'all, so this is the final results. I hope y'all enjoyed this tutorial and see y'all in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.